The UFC Freedom 250 is going down this Sunday, and these are my predictions for the entire huge, many fight card. I'm I'm hyped. I cannot lie to you guys. I am very excited for this card. Um, let's just get right into it. There's only a main card, and if we're going off of MVP standards, this is a triple headliner. You know what I mean? We got O'Malley, Pereira, and Taporia all fighting. That's a triple headliner. But I digress. Let's start with the opening fight. Diego Lopez versus Steve Garcia. I think Diego Lopez is going to get this one done. Um, I think he's a much higher level fighter than Steve Garcia's fought. I I don't think Steve Garcia is a bad fighter. Obviously, he's got great boxing. He's got big power for the featherweight division. I just think I think Diego's a better fighter. He's fought better competition. He's been in those big fights. He's probably not gonna have quite the nerves, being that he's from Brazil, that Steve Garcia, an American, would have fighting at the White House on the lawn of the White House. I am gonna take that into account, and I'm gonna go with Diego Lopez to win this fight. Uh, you know, like I said, Steve Garcia has great boxing, good power. Diego's just got a hell of a chin, and he does have great jiu-jitsu to fall back on, and great wrestling. Now that he's in the Oklahoma State wrestling room with David Taylor, their trifecta of national champs, or I think they had three national champs this year. Um, but yeah, I mean, Diego's in that wrestling room learning from David Taylor, who's a phenomenal wrestler, obviously a phenomenal coach. His wrestling has improved tenfold since he got in that room. Um, I'm going to take him to keep this one standing. I think he's going to find the late TKO. I'm thinking 2 minutes left in the third after a scrap. Diego's going to find the shot that puts Garcia down. Probably a body shot. Honestly, I'm thinking like a body shot TKO. Um, I will be on Diego Lopez to win this fight, though. Next up the card, we got Bo Nickel versus Kyle Dawkins. This is a tough one. I think Bo Nickel's ready. I think Bo Nickel's gonna win this fight. Dawkins has looked good in his last couple of fights, though. He had that stint where he lost two or three in a row in the UFC, got cut. Went on the regional scene, looked really solid on the regional scene, then got re-signed. Now I believe he's on a 2-fight win streak in the UFC. Um, I think Bo gets this one done. He looked much improved on the feet in his last fight against Rodolfo Vieira. Um, I just, obviously he got that nasty head kick KO. He does have a big overhand right. They're roughly the same size, same reach, basically the same leg reach. Dawkins is 2 inches taller. Bo Nickel's generally a small middleweight. I really do think he'd have much more success cutting down to 170. Fighting at welterweight would do numbers for this guy's just physicality in the weight class. I think he gets this one done, though. I think he's not really gonna be at huge size disadvantage. Dawkins is a big guy, but he's not huge, you know? Obviously, Bo Nickel has phenomenal wrestling. If he needs to fall back on, Bo Nickel can fall back on his wrestling. Again, I'm thinking it stays on the feet. I think we're gonna get a solid scrap, and then Bo Nickel finds the TKO there at the very end. I do think this one's gonna be a little sooner than this opening fight, though. I think Bo's gonna be able to find this midway through the second. You know, early to midway through the second, I think he's really gonna start finding his range. Not necessarily finding his range. I think he's really gonna start. All right, hold up. I got a cat trying to jump up all on stuff. Give me 1 second. We're back. Sorry about that. You know, it's funny enough. I do have an orange cat named Bo, after the redheaded Bo Nickel. That's just the wrong orange cat. That one's not named Bo. Anyway, where was I? You know, I just don't think Bo Nickel's really gonna get out physicaled in this fight. I don't think Dawkins is gonna be able to bully him around. You know, like I said, if he does try and bully him around, he can just rely on his wrestling. You know, he's been wrestling for so long, he's got such good muscle memory that when he gets in a bad spot, he really can just rely on the muscle memory to get him out of it. I think as long as he doesn't eat too many knees to the body, Bo Nickel's gonna win this fight. I believe I was saying, you know, second round. I think Nickel's really gonna start turning it up. Early to mid second round, I think Nickel's really gonna start turning it up. Really start landing in combination, and I think he's gonna kind of just be able to avalanche himself into a TKO here. I think he's gonna, you know, it's gonna be kind of tit for tat in the first round, and then second round, Nickel's just gonna turn it up to 11 and get the finish. That's that one. I guess there is an argument Dawkins could go out there and just masterclass him on the feet. I don't see that happening. You know, granted, Bo Nickel doesn't really train a whole lot of stand up. He is primarily a grappler. But if he were smart, he would be doing a lot more striking classes. For these type of camps. But then again, Bo Nickel can read minds. So he's realistically, he's probably in the fight, and Dawkins is gonna be like, "Oh, I'm gonna jab him," and Nickel he hears that, just moves out of the way. You know, I'm gonna throw a big overhand, and he just slips it. You know, that's kind of what I feel like is happening in these fights. Is Bo Nickel truly can read minds, and the CIA was onto him. You know, they're really on his trail there for a second. They're like, man, something's off. Something's off about this guy. We gotta watch him more closely. And I think that's why he lost the RDR fight. I think if he would have won that fight, it would have been too obvious. You know, it definitely would have been too obvious. They would have taken him out. Point blank simple. Bo Nickel had to lose the RDR fight to keep his to keep his life. Basically, the CIA was on him. I think he's going to use his powers in this one. I think he's going to read every single thought that Kyle Dawkins has, and I think he's going to use it against him and win this fight. Late second round, early third round, TKO. Next up the card, we have Mauricio Rufy versus Michael Chandler. I could see Chandler stealing around, getting a takedown, and just smudge festing him up against the fence. Maybe tossing in some fish hooks here and there, eye pokes, nut shots. Really digging deep into his bag. But if it's on the feet for any extended period of time, Mauricio Rufy is going to find the knockout shot. And I don't think it's really going to be like a TKO. I think Rufy's going to do Chandler how Chandler did Tony Ferguson. Now, Chandler could go out there and just, crafty vet his way into a nut shot, eye poke, double leg, get the takedown off rip first round, drain Rufy, and then it turns into a bit of a scrap. But I think Rufy, he's been training with Volk. He's been traveling around to these different gyms, really trying to figure out his best fight style for defending takedowns. And I feel like he's found it. I think he's just gonna be too much for old man Chandler. He's super fast. Rufy is very fast. I want to say I saw this guy fight when he knocked out Bobby Green. What was that? 313? 320, maybe? I don't know. Now I'm curious. Yeah, So it was 313. He spinning heel kicked Bobby Green, and that was nasty. That was a blink and you miss it type knockout. I kind of think that's what's gonna happen here. I don't see Michael Chandler doing very good on the feet. I don't really see him doing very good on the ground either. But he is just a ball of muscle. In that first round, if he gets a hold of Rufy, it could be wraps for the round. I don't think he's gonna finish Rufy on the ground. But he could definitely control him for the vast majority of the round. I think Rufy's, he's really building himself into being this all around solid fighter. Well rounded. He's getting well rounded. He started off as just a striker primarily. I mean, he's a knockout artist. That's what he is. He is starting to get a decent, not a decent ground game, but decent at defending, getting taken down. He is good at getting back up. I think Rufy gets the knockout. Honestly, unless Chandler gets the takedown first round, it's Rufy first round KO. As Chandler's kind of getting warmed up, when he kind of needs to get hit a couple of times to, wake himself up. Hey, you're in a fight, dummy. I think Rufy's shots are going to be too detrimental to wake him up. I think they're going to do the opposite. Whoever wins this fight is definitely calling out McGregor. Chandler could probably lose and still call out McGregor. It's just, there's three things guaranteed in life: death, taxes, and Michael Chandler thinking he deserves a McGregor fight. Yeah, I just think Rufy gets gets a nasty knockout and really kind of catapults himself up into stardom. I think this card is great since there are so few fights. It's about half the card of a normal fight night. Normally there's 12, 13. We're sitting at 7. So it's roughly half. I think you're going to get a lot of hate watchers. I do think we're going to get a lot of hate watchers this weekend. But with that, someone might see, Michael Chandler, who's known for supporting certain people, get flatlined. And now all of a sudden, Rufy's getting 100,000 followers on Instagram. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I'm seeing this going. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of fans watching this stuff. But I do think we're going to get a lot of non-fans watching this weekend. Just kind of checking it out, seeing what it's all about. Next up the card, we have a fight one of the fights I'm most excited for. I have become a huge Josh Hokett fan. And I know I chose Curtis Blades to beat this guy in his last fight. I'm not going to do that again. Sorry. Josh Hokett's going to win this fight. He's probably going to win this fight by knockout. Derek Lewis does have big power, though. Josh Hokett likes to stand in front of you. But this guy is so fast. He is so fast for the heavyweight division. I think he's going to be able to dart in and out and land big shots on Lewis that Lewis doesn't want to eat. It's a 50-50 shot these days on if Derek Lewis actually shows up to fight. If he's actually gone to a fight camp or if he's coming off the couch. I would assume that he actually put in the work at a fight camp this time, considering he's fighting at the White House in front of Donald Trump. They seem to be boys. That might have changed due to recent events. We're not sure. I think Hokett's just going to be... I said in the Curtis Blades fight, I thought once you hit that level of heavyweight where they're not just some fat guy who can throw a bomb, you actually hit some solid fighters. And I thought Curtis Blades was going to be too much. But Josh Hokett really showed out in his last fight. And I think Curtis Blades beats Derek Lewis. Like, current Curtis Blades, I think he beats Derek Lewis. I think he knocks Derek Lewis out, currently. Derek Lewis, he does have that nasty uppercut knockout on Curtis Blades, so it is kind of just like that MMA math type deal, but I think current Curtis Blades in that Hokett fight would knock out Derek Lewis. And that, I have to go Josh Hokett to get the knockout on Derek Lewis. In his last fight, he got jabbed and just retired, basically. Not like a true retirement, but got jabbed, pulled guard, tucked up in a ball, pulled Anthony Lionheart Smith, really. His last 2 wins are Taliesin Teixeira, who we've seen is not that good. He's just a big gangly fuck if you really think about it. And Rodrigo Nascimento, who lost one more after the Lewis fight, got cut, and has gone on to lose 3 times in the PFL. Or he's gone 1-2 in the PFL since then. So, I like Derek Lewis. His knockout over Volkov was legendary. That was sick. I don't think he's got it anymore. I think he's just showing up for a paycheck. He wasn't supposed to be on this card originally. I'm trying to think of what 327 maybe? Yeah, it was 327 because Hokit fought on 327. It was 327 is when Trump was like, "Oh, why is Derek Lewis not fighting on the card?" And then they asked Hokit if he wanted to fight him, and he said sure. So it's not like Derek Lewis has like been dead set for months that he's gonna be fighting on the White House card. 2 months, sure, but I mean, what's 2 months? 8 weeks? I guess that is a fight camp. That is a decent fight camp. I'm saying this stuff like I'm giving Derek Lewis a chance at changing my mind, but he's really not changing my mind. Every way I look at this, I think Hokit's better. He's got a much better wrestling. 10 times better wrestler. I don't think this is a just stand up Derek Lewis. I think if Derek gets put on his back, he's there. He's not getting up anymore. I think Josh Hokit wins this by knockout. Next up the card, we have the first main event of the evening. We have Sugar Sean O'Malley fighting Amin Zahabi. I gotta rock with the Montana boy. I'm taking Sean O'Malley. And to tell you the truth, it's not even that he's from Montana. It's not that I liked his Song Yadong fight more than whatever. Actually, it is partially. I don't know what I'm saying. Amin Zahabi lost to Chito Vera. Won a split decision. Won a split decision. He lost that fight. I cannot choose you to beat Sean O'Malley if you are losing to Chito Vera. I'll be fair. If you are taking Chito Vera to a split decision in the big 2025, I am not choosing you to beat Sean O'Malley. We've seen time and time again, Amin Zahabi starts very, very slow. And against a not a pure striker, but against a power striker, a sniper like Sean O'Malley, I don't think you can afford to do that. I think the first real clean shots that O'Malley lands are going to dump Zahabi, and he's just going to follow up and be too much. I don't think Zahabi's going to be able to survive like he did against Jose Aldo. He was getting beat up by Chito Vera. He was getting beat up by Marlon Chito Vera in 2025. I don't even think Chito's that bad of a fighter, but you are not on Sean O'Malley's level if you're taking Chito Vera to a split decision. And I may have to eat my words here. I don't see an outcome of Zahabi winning. O'Malley's very good at winning decisions. We've seen that time and time again. If he doesn't get the knockout, he can win a decision. He's really been working on his grappling. Merab got him. Yeah, Merab got him twice. That's Merab. Merab on his run. I saw Merab fight Sandhagen directly after submitting O'Malley. And the guy still looked unbeatable until he got into that Peter Yan fight. So I don't know, man. I do not see a way that Amin Zahabi wins this fight. Um, Unless somehow O'Malley goes out there, just wings a big hook, Zahabi ducks it, gets the perfect double leg into a back take, and just wraps up a rear naked choke before Sean O'Malley knows what's happening. I don't think Zahabi's fast enough to do that. And I mean, Sean O'Malley is in their room. They have some solid grapplers now. So I don't really think the ground game is as much of an issue for Sean O'Malley as it has been in the past. So I will be taking him to get the knockout against Amin Zahabi midway through the second. You know, I think in the first, he's going to, like I said, I think he's going to dump Zahabi, and it's just going to be too much. You know, he's going to dump him. Maybe Zahabi gets back up, survives, and O'Malley just kind of stays on him, just keeps peppering him, just keeps on him, just enough to never let Zahabi really take a breath, really get his flow, get his footing, really do anything in this fight. And then I think he's just going to work his way into a TKO. Early second round, early to mid second round, he's going to just start throwing big combos, you know, punches and bunches. And Zahabi's just, he's going to cripple. He's going to break and he's going to give up. That's how it's going to go. You know, this right here versus this right here on the White House. You think a Canadian fella is going to win at the White House? Come on now. On to the co-main event of the evening. We got Alex Poatan Pereira versus Cyril Cheating Man Gane. You know, I'm seeing a lot of stuff about how Gane's a super fast, super light on his feet striker. Very dangerous. This is Pereira's biggest test to date. And while I do agree Gane is fast on his feet, he is a decent test. I don't really see the finishing, not even necessarily potential, but danger. I don't see the finishing risk of Cyril Gane. You know, if you go back and watch his TKO against, say, Tuivasa, he really had to just lay into Tuivasa, really land the body shots, land up top, body shots, up top, body shots, and then he was able to break Tuivasa. And we've seen Tuivasa is a fairly easy nut to crack, you know? Gane is decent at like rolling for a leg, getting a heel hook. Not necessarily getting the heel hook, but getting in like a heel hook position, kind of like the funky jiu-jitsu. But I think Pereira training with Glover for however long now, I think he's competent on the ground. You know, you see a lot about how if you're gonna be world champ, you have to just be a super well-rounded, the best at everything, and that's not true. Pereira can put your lights out with one big left hook, and then, you know, the wrestling is inept. The jiu-jitsu is inept. Who cares? If he connects, it's over with. And I think that power is going to follow him up into heavyweight. I'm going to take Alex Pereira to get the KO via lighter man skill. I think when it's a battle between two strikers, It's a battle between a kickboxer and a striker in MMA. Alex Pereira's kickboxing is just such a high level that if Cyril Gahn does not get this to the ground, I I think he's getting knocked the fuck out. I think he is snoozing. Um, if it does go to the ground, I think Pereira is going to be able to reverse position and get the TKO with ground and pound. You know, I'm taking Pereira by knockout. I guess Cyril Gahn might be able to eye poke his way into another title shot down the road. That's always a possibility. Um, yeah, I just I am taking Alex Poetan Pereira to get the knockout over this stinky Frenchman. Again, this right here, winning on American soil, I just don't like that. I don't fuck with that whatsoever. It doesn't jive with my vibe. I will be taking the block-headed Brazilian to win this one. And I'm not scared to say it. On to the main event. Oh, Justin, oh. We have Ilya Topuria versus Justin the Highlight Gaethje. Ilya Topuria is going to knock him out. I'm not going to hold you long. Ilya Topuria is going to win this one by knockout. He's going to do what he's done the past 3 fights, knocked out a legend. It's hard not to like Ilya at this point. Like, yeah, obviously I don't like him because he's knocking out all the guys I like. But he's not going out there and just smudge festing these guys. He's going out there and swinging and putting these guys away, which is crazy. I don't really even know what to say about this fight, really, other than Ilya Topuria is going to go out there and find a big combination of hooks. Just boom, 3, 4, thump. Gaethje's dead. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. Now, I will say, if Justin Gaethje pulls this off, it is the year of the upset. You gotta remember, it is the year of the upset. If Justin Gaethje pulls this off, it will probably be the most legendary win in UFC history. We just had Strickland beating Chimaev. But if Gaethje beats Ilya Topuria to win the lightweight belt at the White House, pure cinema. Pure cinema. It's not going to happen, of course. I do not think it's going to happen. Could you imagine if it did, though? You know what I mean? That would be crazy. Justin, he says he has to walk forward. He has to create pressure. For a while there, that was kind of the notion that was Ilya's problem, is he can't fight on the back foot. He's the little brother, dude. He's got to be able to fight on the back foot. He is he's not a counter puncher. He likes to throw his shit first, but I do think he can counter punch. I think he's really good at counter punch. He's obviously got great accuracy. So counter-punching should come easy to him, should he need to use it. I think if this turns into a brawl, Ilya wins. No problem. If Justin just goes out there and tosses a head kick and sleeps him in 10 seconds, oh my god. The riots that would, not even necessarily riots, they'd be happy parades if you really think about it. Craziness. DC would probably burn. Sorry about your bad luck. That's how she goes. You know what I mean? I will be taking Ilya Topuria by knockout in this fight, though. I think he gets this one done. We'll go over him. It was 7 fights. We'll go over him again. I'm taking Topuria, taking Pereira, taking O'Malley, taking Hokit, taking Rufy, taking Nickel, and I am taking Lopez. I know, I just went all the way up the red side of the card, but, hey, sorry about your bad luck. I will be cooking up some parlays later in this week for this card. Be on the lookout for those. If you haven't already, watch my most recent video about why I believe Gable Steveson should not be in the UFC. Quite good at finding the loopholes, that one is. That'll be the video. Thank you for watching. This has been Wheezy MMA. I'm Wheezy, and I'm out. Have a good one.